In this clip, we're going to be looking at rearranging difficult formulae. In both of these questions here, I'm being asked to make x the subject, and we can see that x appears just once in each of the formulae. This means that I could rearrange them using a flowchart if I wanted to. But in this clip, we're going to be looking at some really difficult ones where a flowchart won't work. So I'm going to introduce to you another way of doing it, and I'm going to show you that using these two here. So I want to make x the subject of this formula here. I can see that I want to get the x on its own, and at the moment it's part of this x over r. So the first thing I want to get rid of is this plus 2y. To do that, I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides. I get w minus 2y equals x over r. Now to get the x on its own, I want to multiply by r, and I do this to both sides. To multiply this by r, I put it all in brackets and put the r in front of it. Multiplying this by r just gives me x, and x is now the subject of the formula. Now I would get full marks in the exam for this, but it's nicer to write it as x equals r w minus 2y and put the thing that you're making the subject at the start. Now for this one here, one way to do it is to notice that the x is trapped inside this bracket. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply out the bracket, and we're going to multiply it by 3. So we get w equals 3x plus 6y minus 5. Now I want to get the x on its own, so I'm going to move the plus 6y and the minus 5. I'm going to subtract 6y from both sides and add 5 to both sides. So I get w minus 6y, add 5, equals 3x. Now there's one more thing to do to get the x on its own, and that's to divide by 3. I want to divide all of this by 3, and I do that by writing all of it over 3. This gives me x. Again, I prefer to write this the other way round. X equals w minus 6y plus 5 over 3. Here are two for you to try. Press pause and have a go at them. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Just out of interest, if for part B you had this answer instead, it's actually still correct. I hope you can see that this is equivalent to this. They've both got a y, a plus t, and a minus 4 divided by 8. This will be the same case throughout this clip. There will often be slight variations in the answers. Now for the rest of this clip, we're going to be looking at much more difficult questions, where the letter that you're trying to make the subject, in this case x, appears more than once. Here you can see it appears twice, and here it actually appears 3 times. Because it appears multiple times, we're not able to use a flowchart to solve these, even if we wanted to. This is one common type of question on exam papers, and it looks like this, where it's all in a straight line. This is the other common type that will often appear on exam papers, where we have something divided by something. Let's have a look at this type of question first of all. So in this question, I want to make x the subject, and x actually appears twice. First of all, I spot that x on this side is trapped within a bracket, so the first thing I'm going to do is multiply this bracket out. I get 2y plus 2x equals 5x plus 7. Now it's x that I'm trying to get on its own, so I'm going to get all the terms with x in on one side of the equal sign and all the other terms on the other side. Which side do I choose to put my x's on? Well, looking here, I can see I've got 5 x's over here and only 2 x's here, so I'm going to put the x's on this side where there's more of them. So what I'm going to do now is subtract 2x from both sides. So I have 2y equals 5x plus 7 minus 2x. Now remember, I was trying to get all the terms with x on one side, which I have done, but all the other terms on the other side, and I've still got this plus 7 over here. So I'm going to now take away 7 from both sides. So I get 2y minus 7 equals 5x minus 2x. When you get more practiced at this type of equation, you can miss out this middle step here and just go straight from this to this. Now I can simplify this line. I've got 2y minus 7 equals 5x minus 2x, which is 3x. Now you can see I've almost got x the subject of the formula. The only thing I need to do now is divide both sides by 3. So I've got 2y minus 7 over 3 equals x. And as normal, I prefer to write this as x equals 2y minus 7 over 3. Now let's look at a second example. I want to make x the subject of this formula. I can see on this side that the x is trapped in a bracket. So the first thing I want to do is multiply this bracket out. So I get ax minus ab equals xa squared plus bx. Now I want to get all the terms with x in on one side of the equal sign and all the terms that don't have x in on the other side. I can see that I've already got 2 terms with x in on this side, so I'm going to get all the x's over here. To do that, I subtract ax from both sides. So I've got minus ab equals xa squared plus bx minus ax. Now I'm at the same stage as I was here. I've got all the x's on one side of the equal sign. In this question, the next step was straightforward. Because I had 5x minus 2x, I could simplify it to 3x. It's not so straightforward over here because I don't actually have any numbers, so I can't simplify it. Instead, what I'm going to do is factorise this, and I'm going to take out a factor of x. So to do that, this will stay as it is, minus ab. And then on this side, I'm going to take out a factor of x. So I have a squared plus b minus a. Now to get the x on its own, all I need to do now is divide by this bracket. So I've got minus ab over a squared plus b minus a, and you'll see now I haven't bothered to put it in the bracket, and that's equal to x. To finish off, I always like to write it x equals, and we've got minus ab over a squared plus b minus a. Just out of interest, to avoid getting this minus ab at this stage here, a lot of mathematicians would have chosen to take all the terms with x in to the left rather than to the right. If you do that, then the answer you get is x equals ab over a minus a squared minus b. Again, these two answers are actually equivalent. Here are some questions for you to try. Press pause and have a go at them. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Now this question looks really different, but there's actually only one extra step. First of all, I can see that this has been divided by 2 plus x. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 plus x. To do that, I have p and then brackets 2 plus x equals 5 minus 3x. Once you get to this stage, it's exactly the same as the questions that we've just been doing. Examiners say that students have real difficulty doing these questions, and it's all down to lack of practice. So what I'd like you to do now is to carry on rearranging this to make x the subject of the formula. Press pause and have a go. When you're ready, press play. Here's the answer. Here are some more for you to try. Press pause and have a go at them. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers.